In this video, I'm going to show you 5 of my favourite budget-friendly kitchen tools and how I use them in the kitchen to keep things frugal. Welcome back, or if you've not been here before, on this channel we're looking at how to move towards living a healthy but slightly lower cost life by growing food, by cooking food, and by getting a bit creative about starting to reduce costs and be a little bit more frugal. And in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 of my favourite low-cost kitchen tools that I think helps me save a bit of money, makes cooking more enjoyable, even fun, so that I do more of it and I get to save money for me and the family by cooking at home and using whole foods and all of that good stuff. And it was really hard to choose these 5, but here we are. Here's 5 that I've come up with today. If it was tomorrow, it might be a different list. So let's do it. Let's look at these 5 tools. And the 5th one is one of those tools that might help some of you. It's my most asked question when I say that I grow butternut squash, and the last tool helps me with prepping that. So stick around to the end if you want to see that one. So budget-friendly kitchen tool number 1 is to get yourself a set of spatulas. Mostly we think about using these in the kitchen to scrape out a cake bowl, and this is my favourite one for things like that. So to scrape out bowls and make sure you have no food waste. It's really great to have a spatula like this. The end comes off, so it's washable. You can put it in the dishwasher, and great noise. But they're also good for some of the things that you might not think about and that just lead to food waste. So this spatula I use very often for scraping out the remnants of the butter from the butter bowl. So number 1 spatula is one with a wideish head and that has a lot of flexibility, so you can use it to scrape out bowls and all different sizes. The second kind of spatula here is actually really quite hard. This one's really useful if you're cooking something, maybe you're frying in non-stick, or you've got bits stuck to the bottom of your Instant Pot and you need to really kind of scrape the pan a bit without getting into metal spoons. And so one of these more solid spatulas is brilliant for kind of pushing away burnt bits or crispy bits, but it's still very gentle on your pans and can collect everything up. And then the third kind of spatula is a much smaller one. So if you can see this one against the standard size, the orange one is much narrower. And a narrow spatula like this is brilliant for small spaces where you still need to scrape stuff out. And the biggest use of this one for me is the blender. So if you've got a Vitamix or a blender, especially if it's one of these very narrow ones at the bottom and it's got lots of ridges in it, if you put a normal spatula in there, it gets all cut up by the blades. So here's me trying to demo. I can use this narrow spatula to scrape out something like a Vitamix without tearing it up on the blades at the bottom. So I don't use that all that often, but when I need it, I really need it. And one of those times is when I'm making nut butter or almond milk in the Vitamix. So the first budget-friendly frugal tool then is a trusty spatula, and ideally a set of spatulas that are suitable for however you cook in the kitchen. So budget-friendly kitchen tool number 2, and you might have seen these in my videos, are these silicone trays. And they might be called baby food trays, they might be called silicone muffin trays. You can get all different sizes. You can even get ice cube trays like this. I'll put some links below in the description for you to give examples of this and everything else that I'm showing today, so you can have a look for yourself. So over time I've collected 3 different sizes. I've got these that came with some accessories for my Instant Pot. You might have seen those in some recent videos. I've got these much larger ones that are really for kind of deep muffins, these ones, but I use them for other stuff. And I've got this much smaller one here. sort of really small size one. And these are just brilliant for freezing foods, because one of the problems with cooking in bulk, which is a definite money saver, how do you store them? How do you get them into the freezer without using all of your containers or loads of individual plastic bags? So I'm always looking for ways to deal with that issue. So if I'm making soup, I might use these to freeze soup into portion sizes and get them into the freezer, and then you can just pop out the soup, the puck of whatever it is, and put it into a larger container in your freezer. So I've used them for soup, I use them for pesto, I use them for pizza sauce, I use them for pasta sauce in individual portions. All kinds of things. Fantastic tool to use. And it's not just my own food that I use these for. I sometimes buy pre-made kind of Thai curry pastes. Sometimes they're in a large tub or a bag. And there's actually quite a lot of curry paste in there, and I might not use them in time. So what I'll do, if I've got a soft kind of product, like a curry paste or a puree or something, and I don't think I'm going to get it used, then I will spoon it into some of these little kind of portion-sized silicone trays and freeze it. And then I'm not having any waste, and I'm saving money, and I haven't got some mouldy, furry curry paste in the fridge. Although that does still happen sometimes. But this is a way of preventing some of your foods from ending up going to waste or going to mould. So budget-friendly kitchen tool number 3 are some really good quality preserving jars. So I use these Ball's wide mouth jars, traditionally used for preserving jams and jellies. These jars also come in really small sizes. And in this one I've got some homemade nut butter. And that's a great way of being able to take some nut butter into work and just drop it in your drawer. I also use them to store almond milk. If I've made some almond milk, you'll have seen people drinking out of them. You can use them for smoothies. You can also use them as a temporary lunchbox for soups. So I often freeze my soups in the aforementioned muffin trays. So I'll have these kind of pucks of soup. And then I think, well, how am I going to actually send them in as a packed lunch? And I can use these jars to drop in the pucks, and I can screw the lid on. I know it's watertight because they're brilliant jars, and that can just go in as a packed lunch. It's a glass jar, so it can be used for heating up in the microwave when lunchtime comes as well. And I also use them as a container in the freezer. So if I'm freezing some green beans, see my video for that. For instance, this year I've put some of them in glass jars in the freezer. So these are safe for the freezer, a brilliant way, and you can just reuse them again and again. If you're using them for jams, you need to replace these little inner seals here, this bit, because it's got the kind of glue on that you need. But you can, as long as they're clean, you can reuse these inners for other purposes than preserves. And I'll keep them going unless I see them going rusty or degrading, and then I'll change them over. So you can buy packs of these lids at the top here, really good value. So your jars will last a lifetime. So I haven't managed to break any of these yet, and I can tell you I break jars often. Budget-friendly kitchen tool number 4 is a preserving funnel. Now again, you've probably come across these when seeing people filling jam jars, making marmalade and stuff, and they are absolutely amazing for that. If you are a preserver out there and you do this, what protection this gives you from the boiling hot jams when you're pouring them in. So they fit on top of your mason jars, and they fit on top of different sizes. They even fit on these little jars here. So if you're buying in bulk and you're filling jars, you can drop this on top of whatever jar that you're using and get some of your beans and lentils poured into your storage jars. It makes a lovely noise, keeps nice and clean, a fun little gadget, and really cheap too. And then my final budget-friendly kitchen tool is this very simple little peeler. This is a Good Grips peeler, which I've had for a very long time. This is the most powerful peeler I've ever had. and you can use it whether you're left or you're right-handed. If you have arthritis or some kind of pain condition, as I have with my hand, it makes fast work of peeling vegetables, including a lot of people's nemesis, the butternut squash. So the Good Grips peeler makes really fast work of peeling a butternut squash. There's a lot of food waste when we don't peel things properly. And also often vitamins and minerals and nutrients might be just under the surface. So using a peeler can really just take a very thin amount of your fruit and veg off, rather than kind of hacking it at big chunks. Maybe that's just me. I use a peeler for peeling potatoes, including sweet potatoes. I use a peeler for carrots, for parsnips, for Swedes. And of course I use a peeler for butternut squash. But also, in addition to that, there are other uses in the kitchen. So sometimes we just want to put a little bit of cheese on top of something, and we just want some thin slices, and your peeler can be used to just peel some very thin slices off the top of your cheese. Really frugal way of topping something with a bit of cheese, and it looks really cool too, with these nice very thin kind of curls of cheese. Take your cheese straight out of the fridge for this. It works much better and is less messy if it's a hard cheese coming out of the fridge. So something like cheddar works really well. So that's it. That's my 5 kitchen tools that I think every frugal cook should have. So what have I missed? Let me know in the comments below. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I post here every week. So don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next week.